started. Send out Twitter stuff. Make sure everything's hooked up. And we are good. So, hello everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is. Why do I keep wanting to say February? It is April 10th, and this is the April 10th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be resuming work on our new combat system. And in particular, I get the feeling we're going to be focusing a lot on text effects today. Well, not text effects because those are already an established concept, but rather effects for, or effects that we can apply to our combat labels to hint at incorrect selections. And what I mean by that is, and I briefly explained this before, but essentially now with the new combat system, you actually have a series of choices for your moves, and those choices can range from going left to going right to jumping. Pretty much, it's entirely situational based on the enemy that you're fighting at the time. But the idea there is that there can be wrong choices in addition to correct choices. So you can't just pick whatever you want. You need to pay attention to the context of the fight. So, for example, our troll here is holding a club in its left hand, which is to your right. So if you were to go right, then since you're going into the club, basically, that's a wrong move. So the troll will punish you, and you'll get hit. You'll lose some health, and you'll get put back into the start screen. Well, not like you're gonna die from that. I mean the battle neutral screen. And I need some way of conveying what labels are correct and what labels are incorrect. Currently, we don't have a system for that. Well, we have somewhat of a system for that. I threw something together last week, but I wasn't particularly satisfied with it, so I'm going to scrap it and start it over again, which is where we are right now. And the approach I have is kind of esoteric, but it should work, and I'll explain that a little bit more in detail later. And speaking of doing things later, okay, I've walked on screen on my end, but not on the stream yet. But I am going to go ahead and say we're going to be doing coding today and design. I think that seems fair. So we're going to keep those two things up. In any case, so something that I kind of discussed with everyone on Discord was, what do you think would make this interesting visually? And I think the choice that we kind of came up with was a hybrid of background color tinting and vertex animation for our actual labels. To show you what that kind of looks like, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. We should have combat attack. Is this the right one? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this combat attack. I'm going to apply... Oh, wait, no, it's on the label, isn't it? So I'm going to apply a quick vertex animation script to this label to make its text jitter a little bit. It won't be anything substantial, but it should get the concept across. As soon as the TextMesh Pro editor wants to load in, any day now. I think Unity is frozen until it does so. TextMesh Pro, the joys of it. Oh, seriously, this is a really huge problem that I hate in TextMesh Pro sometimes. The first time you ever load an editor, it just takes a while for some reason. Anyway, so we have a vertex shake script there. I'm also going to go ahead and tint this background like a kind of reddish, like that. And I suppose I should probably go ahead and turn this camera off so that we can get the action camera. So this is kind of what we talked about. If you look at the right label there, we should see some jitter and some, and the background would be tinted as well. The other thing that we can do, of course, is keep in mind that our color here is probably going to be closer to like a dark gray whenever we actually show an option. The color should be semi-dark gray just because that it's meant to indicate that you haven't typed anything in yet. It's simply white by default because that's what it is by default, but it changes when we actually populate these values. So I think having the combination of shake and color helps. It certainly makes it much more distinct. It's just, you got to be careful because I can't just make it color based. I can't just have like red be the background, because even though red is usually indicated or usually used in games to indicate danger or enemies. Um, the problem is in Text Quest you can have you have a favorite color, and that favorite color can be red. And if your favorite color is red, then a lot of things that you do, or a lot of things that refer to you as a player, are highlighted in red. And so I cannot make the assumption that people will be fine with red indicating bad choices because their favorite color is meant to be used to guide them throughout the game sometimes. And it might cause people who choose red as their favorite color to think, oh, this is red, I should go over here. But the idea is by adding in red tinting mixed with this vertex animation, we can more easily get across this is not a good choice. Um, and we may end up pairing this with more, instead of like this kind of smallish vertex animation, we might end up going with like a way more crazy, like obviously not meant to be touched type of text. We'll see how far we really want to take it today. I'm saying a lot. But it's definitely something that I've been racking my brain about for the last week, and it's been murdering me. I just can't. I've been trying to design something for a while on this, and I just cannot get it to feel right. At least in my opinion, it's very annoying when that happens. So we're gonna set that back to default value. Okay. So one of the other things that I have also thought about since our last stream, well, since our last combat stream, was I initially moved combat to be first person because I thought, well, that it feels a little bit more like the typing of the dead and more classic, typing based ridiculous romps. But the problem with that is that it doesn't really give me a lot of animation. How to phrase it? Doesn't really give me a lot of animation quirks that I can use. I can't really show the player doing anything. I can't really rotate the camera either. So that means that impact events from enemies are a lot less distinct, for lack of a better term. So let's say that you were to go right here when the troll has his club to the right. When you get hit, ideally we would have some animation, of the troll swinging the club, then you getting hit, and then your player needs to be reset back to their position. That gets really awkward when it's in first person because it means that I have to try to convey what it looks like to be hit from a first person perspective, which doesn't do a good job of conveying what's going on. It's possible to do it, but it's really hard. It's really hard to make it feel right. You very rarely in first person games have scenes where a where a first person player character is getting meleeed. It's very rare for that to happen. It does happen, but it's very rare. And especially when you do see that, it is usually things that will not cause the player's camera to spin or rotate, which is very limiting with the style that I want to apply to my animations for these combat scenes. I really do want the player character to be kind of ridiculous. I mean, we're not going to go full on Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or anything like that, but we're going to go probably about halfway there, I'm guessing, because we're going to try to have some fun with the animation, of course. But because of that, I kind of need to zoom the camera out more, if only so I can convey what the player is doing, what the hero does in these combat scenes. The other reason I want to do this is because it lets me do some more interesting framing. One of the benefits of first person was that it made it feel more cohesive with the rest of the game. But the downside to that was that you couldn't really do much with framing. Everything was basically just every single camera angle for your default screen was going to pretty much just be this. You were going to be looking at your opponent, obviously without the canvas here, and with this up. But that's not really a good. Let's see. I think we want to turn you off. There we go. So this is pretty much what every single view would look like, and that's fine. It conveys the information that you want, but it's not really good enough, and it's not very interesting. So moving back to a third-person camera is, I think, the better way to go in the long run, just because it does let us do some more interesting camera angles, and it also just lets us have more fun. So that's why I'm moving back into this third-person view. Um, Save. Okay, so enough talk. I've been talking for about 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get started on doing what I want to do, which is creating text effects. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting. Really, I thought I already changed that one. Whatever. So the way I've chosen to approach this is we have these things called combat attack labels. These are going to replace the combat attack. So these were called combat attacks before. But now I have a new thing called combat attack label. And combat attack labels have behaviors that can be applied to them when they are set to be false, or when they're set to be false choices. That's kind of the vocabulary I'm using for them right now. I don't really know what else to call them. Let's go ahead and collapse this. Let me drag my combat attack label onto here so everyone can see it. Okay, so false choice behaviors are just a bunch of scriptable objects. And it's a little strange. Where did I go? Here we are. It's a little strange because I wanted them to be scriptable objects so that I could kind of swap out behaviors as I see fit. I don't have to have, a bunch of different scripts uh, that behave differently, which is kind of what I did before. But what we're going to do now is I can have different combat attack labels per combat scenario, and that lets me kind of change up how false choices are presented to the player. And that's probably not really going to actually see much variety over the course of the game, largely so that I can have something consistent that players can immediately recognize as a false choice. But having it be swappable through scriptable behavior or scriptable objects makes it a lot easier for me, just because it means that I can do a variety of effects, and I can swap them out until I get the effect that I want. It also lets me mix and match them because they can all do one very specific thing. And I don't have to make like a new script every time I want them to do something. Well, I mean, technically I do have to make a new script, but I don't have to make like a new derived script from combat attack label that then does something very, very specific. Instead, I can just swap out these combat attack label behaviors. Okay, so a combat attack label behavior. Jeez, my class names are getting really long. Are just scriptable objects, and they have three functions right now. Although you can see that I have a couple of to-dos here. And we're probably going to expand on those so that it's a little bit easier for us to work with this stuff. But the idea is that you have a start behavior, a stop behavior, and then a tick. Start behavior takes currently a single label, although we will probably end up setting that to be multiple labels, so like a params. And that's because I want the possibility of multiple false choices being a thing. But we'll see how well that goes. Hello, William. Thank you for hosting. Always exciting. Also, hello everyone from the Manifold Garden stream. Okay, so I guess that means I should probably kick into gear and stop explaining things and just start doing things. So let's go ahead. I was working on the letter shake behavior earlier today, but it's the most complicated one. So I think we're going to do something a little more simple, and we're just going to refactor some of our core behavior, and then we're going to do, I'm going to say background color first, so we can get that working, make sure that it's okay. And then we'll move on to the really complex stuff with letter shake behavior, and then getting all of our combat choices to flow together. So, first things first, let's go over here to combat attack label behavior. And I'm going to change this start behavior to take multiple combat labels. So I'm going to say params, combat attack label, that. Okay. Stop behavior is not going to take anything anymore. It's just going to be empty. And tick is still going to do what it does best, which is just do the tick stuff. Tick is kind of like update in normal mono behaviors, but since it's a scriptable object, we don't really have that concept, so instead I have to kind of strangely keep track of that all myself. And the reason that I'm doing it this way is because I didn't want to have multiple coroutines that I have to start every time I do something. Instead, the goal is, let's see, where's my combat attack label? Is for my combat attack labels to have a single coroutine called false choice coroutine that then loops through all of their behaviors for false choices and will tick them through so that they can update properly. The benefit there is that it reduces all of the potential coroutines that I would have to start down to one. But the complication there is that it makes it really, really weird. Because I'm not simply saying, like, start all these coroutines. I'm saying, okay, start this one coroutine that will then loop through all of these behaviors and just increment them one frame at a time until they're doing what they should do, basically. Which is a little weird. But I think if we can pull it off, it'll be really, really cool. Okay, so let's go over to combat attack label behavior. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's go ahead and move this stuff over. I am going to change some of this. Go ahead. Actually, you know what? I'm probably going to end up commenting most of this code out for now, just because of all of the nasty code that I have going on here. Okay, we're going to clear you. All right. And then we're going to go over to letter color behavior. Same thing. Bang. Don't know why I do sound effects. Okay, so we'll start on the background color behavior, and we'll figure out what we want to do here. So, let's see. For the background start behavior, each one of these labels that gets passed in, so if I go label of 0, it has access to the label, which is the actual TextMesh Pro object. It also has access to the indicator, which is the border. So if I come over here, you can see that we have a border around all of our text. By default, that is disabled. It's meant to be enabled whenever we start typing in that particular box, and it's largely just to let you know what choice you have made and make it very obvious. And we also have access to our background, which is just an image. So for this, it's pretty simple. We're going to want to, let's see, we'll want a serializes field. We'll say private, float, fade. Excuse me. We'll say fade time, I'm thinking. Maybe not fade time. Crossfade, I guess, is equal to, let's say 0. No. Let's say 0.5f. We'll say 1f. Nice round numbers. This is going to be the time that it takes. Time it takes for the labels. Actually, apostrophe. Backgrounds to change color. Okay. So we will also have a default color, which should be color .black essentially, but we probably should cache all. That gets kind of awkward. I guess we'll probably do this the simplest way we can, which is serialize field private color default background color is equal to color.black. It's not actually color.black because we need some amount of transparency, so it's probably closer to, like, I guess I could just do this. New color 0f, 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 and I think it's like 0.75f, maybe. If I were to guess, let me go ahead and see what it is, because that's exactly what guessing means. That's probably closer to like 60 or 0.6, I think. Yeah, I'd say 0.6. So we'll do that. 0.6 instead of 0.75. All right, then we're also going to want to serialize another field, private color, and this one will be target background color is equal to new color. We'll say, well, no, not 1f. I guess it would probably be something like, I don't know, 0.2f, 0f, 0f, and then 0.6f. I think that's going to work. I guess I'll go ahead and tooltip these as well. So tooltip, this will be color to fade, label background to, go ahead and say, not serialize field, tooltip, color to fade, label background from. All right. So on start behavior, we're going to need to keep a running tally of existing labels, which probably means that I should not really have that be an abstract function. I should probably move this to be virtual. We'll move this like this. We can go down here. We're going to go down to here. We're going to say using system.collections.generic. We'll have a protected list of combat attack labels. Yeah, that'll probably be preferable. Combat attack label. We'll say labels is equal to new attack label. In this start behavior function, we'll say labels.add range. Label. Okay. Probably should rename this actually. Crap. I kind of want to do that. Labels. This dot. Yeah, not exactly the best, but it'll work. Okay. So that should probably work, which is kind of funny because that means that I'm going to want to come down here to stop behavior and make it not abstract. Make it virtual this time. Virtual. And we're going to say labels.clear. Okay, so the only abstract one is tick now, which works for me. Okay, we're going to go over here to color behavior. We're going to say base.start behavior, passing in labels. Again, make that correct. And I'll go ahead and correct that everywhere else so that I don't forget it. Okay. So we're going to set those up in a list, and that is pretty much all we want for the most part. System can't type. Using system.collections.generic. So in addition to that, we are going to want to have private. No, that wouldn't work, would it? I was going to do like a list of floats and try to keep track of individual labels via those floats, but I don't think I even really need to do that. So instead, we're going to go ahead and say private float color lerp is equal to 0f. And let's see here. How do we want to do this? So this color lerp will be incremented in tick, but only trying to think about how we're going to handle these. So the general process for this might be good to pull up Photoshop and kind of sketch this out for everyone. So when you initialize a combat action, so when you start getting attacks visible on screen, they need to fade in. So they're not going to just kind of like pop in, they need to actually fade. So let's go ahead and say, 512 by 512 works. Okay, let me go ahead and tone that. Oh, I'm hitting F, not G. There we go. So X here, go to T, cool. So we have a massive font size. Not much better. So we'll get the, let's see here. Are you serious? Stop it. So we'll say fade. Wow, it's still way too big. Okay, let's shrink that down to like, I don't know, 24. That works. We'll zoom in. Okay, so we have fade, then we have the, well, instead of hold, let's say visible. Okay, and then we have fade out. Wow, all of my font settings are just all kinds of screwy right now. Okay, so this is going to be fade in, fade out. All right. So these are the three stages that all combat will, or all combat attacks will have. They will have a fade in period, so they fade in from complete transparency. Then they are visible for a while, and then they fade out. That's because you don't want to have attacks just like pop in and pop out. You don't want to do that. It's very jarring. So we have fade in, visible, fade out. So we can have our behaviors going. This is the weird part is I don't know if on fade in we should have the colors be set already. So I don't know if we want it to just be red and red forever, or if we should, as it's fading in, fade it from the specific color in the background to the target color. Then remain that target color for the visible portion, and then when we fade out, do the opposite. Fade from our target color to our default color. I'm kind of leaning that way just because it makes it a little more obvious that something is special about that choice, because it has movement. If you have static values, like if it's always red, then you can convey some information with that, but by making it change color as it fades in, it draws the player's eye towards it, because our eyes are, better at picking up objects in motion, and color lerping is a motion. So that means I need a way of keeping track of of the label, like if it's fading in, which is awkward to say the least. I suppose that means I could do. Oh, jeez, how on earth would I want to do this? So I could do it this way, and we'll say if. Nope, actually, hold on. Before I do that, I have to do this in a for loop. So we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than labels.count I plus plus. We're going to say if labels of I dot group. Okay. Really? Is that not public? No, it's not. Well, let's make it public. Okay. Thought I made that public. So we're going to say if labels of I dot canvas group dot alpha is less than 1f. So if that's the case, then we're going to want to say oh geez, we're going to say labels of I dot background dot color is equal to color dot lerp from default background color to target background color based on labels of I dot canvas group. Oh, sorry, dot alpha. So this is a little bit of a hacky way. Else, well, we don't really care about else, do we? That's pretty much all we care about, actually. I actually know what. I guess we'll say else if labels of I dot canvas group dot alpha is greater than or equal to 1f. Then we'll say take this in there is equal to target background color. Okay. And the idea there is that we want it to fade in and fade out with our alpha. So tick will normally use this delta time here, which is just the delta time from the previous frame, to iterate through things. But for our background color, we don't actually need that, I suppose, because we only really care about it being used to lerp in with the alpha fade. And it's just going to hold its color for the rest of it. So I guess that's fine. That means that we don't really need our start behavior to do anything special, but we do need our stop behavior to do something special. And that's going to be for int I equals 0, I is less than labels dot count I plus plus. And then at the very end here, we're going to say base dot stop behavior so that it can clear everything. But then we're going to say labels of I dot background dot color is equal to default background color. Make sure that we reset everything properly so that it all looks normal. Okay. So with that, we can actually get rid of you. I don't even need that function. But I'm gonna attach. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I do need to do this. File. Create asset menu. There we go. File name is equal to this. Menu name is equal to that. Okay. So the menu name will be under not that, because that would be Slack going off. All right. So we want our menu name to be, I guess it would be, not one, be SOS /text quest slash combat slash effects, and then background color. I guess we'll say attack effects. Okay. And then for the file name, we'll say background color behavior. We'll say attack behaviors. Okay. I think that's good. Let's go ahead and let that compile. While that's happening, I am going to take a drink because I'm cool and can multitask like that. So now I should be able to create a scriptable object and then assign that to our basic attack. And then I'm going to game it a little bit so that it actually does, it initializes all that on start as opposed to needing to be called like it normally would, just so that we can see it in action. Okay, so first things first, I am going to go ahead and remove vertex shake B so that we don't get that vertex shaking going on. We are going to slide in you. Where's our indicator? And here is our background. We will also go ahead and I'm going to just going to plop it in right here for now. So SOS, text quest, combat, attack behaviors, background color. We'll let that be for now. We don't actually care about the crossfade either, do we? We're not really using that at all. So I can go ahead and get rid of you too. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Oh, and it's off screen. No, the compilation happened as I was dragging. Ugh, hate it when that happens. Okay. Shazam. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead, pull that in. Cool. Now again, nothing's going to happen yet, so we're going to change our, where are you? Combat attack label. And we're going to set this to function on start, just as a quick cheat. So we're going to say private void start, and we're just going to say start coroutine false choice coroutine. And I guess actually what we would do there is just if false choice behaviors dot count, oh, it's dot length is greater than 0. Okay, so if our array of those behaviors is greater than 0, then we're going to do this. So we're not going to yield return null really. Instead, we're just going to say while true, we're going to say for, you know what, no, that's not a for loop. We're just going to do it with this one, aren't we? We'll just go ahead and, oh, crap. That, okay. Crap. False choice coroutine may not end up being on the combat attack label because it needs to handle multiple attack labels. So I either have to move it to a centralized area, or I need it to not do this params thing, or more likely, I'll probably end up just having to have the param or the start behavior function like double check to make sure that it can that the labels that it's adding don't already exist in this label list, and it will probably be fine, but that's a future concern. Okay, so while true, so we're just going to loop forever essentially because that's all we're testing right now. We want to say before we get to that while loop, we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than. Wow, that's super awkward. Yeah. I guess it would be less than false choice behaviors dot length I plus plus. We're going to say false choice behaviors dot of I dot start behavior, and then we'll give it this. That is all we care about. And then we will go ahead and say for, oh dang it, that's not going to work with this. Ha! Crap. All right. So we're going to end up coding a little bit of extra functionality before we get there, but let's finish this logic first. So while it's true, we're going to need to fade in. So, well, actually, no, we're just going to tick here. So we're going to go ahead and say for, it's going to be this pretty much. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this, and we're going to say say time.delta time, and then we will simply say yield return null. Okay, so we are going to kind of cheat here, and we're going to have our fade in and fade out logic be here in this coroutine as well, purely so that we can, get it to work basically. Although, actually, no, I can't put it in here because that would cause problems with our tick, so I have to move them into separate functions. Hooray! Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and say private or private by enumerator. We'll say fade in coroutine. Say float t is equal to 0f while t is less than 1f. Say yield return null. Say t plus equals time dot delta time divided by. Do I have a fade curve, which means that I don't really use the fade in very much. Huh. Okay. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and add that. So serialize field, private float, fade duration is equal to, I'm just going to go ahead and make it 1f for now. Okay. So we're going to say divided by fade duration, and we will also go ahead and say canvas group dot alpha is equal to, say fade curve dot evaluate based on fade, or based on t. Okay. And then at the very end of this, we're going to say canvas group dot alpha is equal to 1f, make it the max. Okay. We're going to go ahead and grab this, pretty much do the exact same thing for our fade out coroutine, except we're going to do it in reverse. So that's going to be 1, you're going to be 0, while you're greater than. We're going to be minus equals this. And I think we're good. And then we'll set you to be equal to 0. Okay, so we're going to say on start, we will go ahead and just call start coroutine, fade in. Okay. So after all of that, we should be able to see our color fade work, in theory. Which of course means that it will work perfectly because I have never made a mistake and I am infallible. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on maximize on play. I'm also going to turn off our combat view, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off our idle camera now for now too, just so we can easily see this. So we should see it fade in, and we should also see it tick for the color. So go ahead and save. We might also end up having to refactor our start behavior function in the color fade so that it sets all of the labels backgrounds to be a certain color at the start of it. So we should see it. Yeah, that's about right. Let's go ahead and make that last a little bit longer just so that we can be absolutely sure what it looks like. So set our fade duration to like 5, something really crazy long. So we should be able to see it fade in a little bit more gracefully. I probably want to make it 2. I found that 2 seconds is pretty good for a fade. It's not red. Well, that's not right. Now, is it? Missing script. What? Oh, that's why. Ooh, that's something to be aware of. Okay. It's this. Yes. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't think about that. So the problem here is that it's a scriptable object, which means that it's persisting. I need to be extra sure that I clear that stuff out before I do anything. which probably means I need to move to, let's see, combat label behavior. I was considering about doing this before, but I kind of stayed away from it. But we'll do it for now. We'll just do this so that we can, be absolutely sure that it's working. But yeah, that is something I need to take into consideration now. I forgot about that. So even though it's a private list, it will persist, and it causes problems obviously when it does that. That's why it didn't fade. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that again. Hey, Dustin Ham, welcome back. How have you been so far? Well, so far since the last time. Last time we were on together. All right, so that crossfade seems to be pretty good. I like that. Let's go ahead and change that to 2 seconds, and then we'll have a good look for pretty much what it's going to be. Let's go ahead and collapse padding so I don't scroll so far each time. Haven't been around this lately. It's been busy. Yeah, I understand. I completely understand. Been doing all right. How have you been? I have been pretty good. The last week has been surprisingly busy, and I have not had as much time as I would like to work at home. I've been off on business for the most part, for the company that I work at, and it just has kept me away more than I would prefer. But hopefully that's not going to be much of an issue going forward for the next month or so. Anyway, so yeah, that seems to work pretty well. Let's go ahead and I am going to. Where are you? Letter, color, behavior. So, background, color, behavior. I would. Let's go ahead and go over here to combat attack. Where are you? Label. There it is. Jeez, too many things. Okay, so we have our while true, which is actually not what we're going to want. So let's go ahead and say, we'll say float t is equal to 0f. I'm going to do some magic numbers here. I'm going to say while t is less than, I don't know, 5f. That seems fine. Then we'll go ahead and say t plus equals time dot delta time. That's a lowercase t, not an uppercase t. And then once that's all done, we'll come down here and we'll say, oh, crud. New. Let's go ahead and make this 10. And then we'll say down here, if t is greater than or equal to 5f. This is kind of stupid of me, isn't it? And canvas group dot alpha. This is really hacky code that we're not going to use later. I just want to test something. Is greater than or equal to 1f. Then we are going to say start coroutine. That should give us an idea of what it looks like when it's fading in and when it's fading out. Okay. Still been watching Twitter, so as long as you keep posting there, I'll be up to date if I can't make it to the streams. Yeah, I need to do better at posting content to Twitter. Check animate event. Oh, right, that's because of you. Oh, really? That's... Oh, right. I freaking hate that. Stupid. It's because of the animation events that I have for the troll to randomly cause his burping or farting. It's throwing null references because Unity's animation event system demands that you have something listening to its events, and if you don't, then it's just going to throw errors, and it's really stupid because of that, but that's how it works. But okay, so here's our fade in. Then we have a little bit of time while it lerps. And there's our fade out. All right, I like it. So that works. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to go ahead and... Okay, so it is black. I wanted to make sure. I'm going to make its alpha 1. Okay. Wanting to make sure that it looked correct. So that's essentially what it's like for it to loop through a behavior real quick. We're probably going to do something similar for letter color behavior. Um, but before we get any farther, I do want to uh, figure out our start behavior function because I can't really pass in all labels at once, so it's kind of pointless to have this param labels. But then again, it actually does make sense because well, my labels or I could potentially have attack labels that have multiple labels. That would be very very rare. I don't actually even know if I'm going to do that, but it's a possibility. Um, so I might as well no, because they wouldn't have multiple labels. So this is totally pointless. We do want to just add. Well, hmm, thinking. Jeez. I'm also a little concerned because I don't ever anticipate this being a thing, but um, staggered labels might be nice. In which case, I do have to have individual values that are used, and I guess that's kind of okay for our. So currently our background color behavior. This would actually work just fine with multiple and staggered labels. Um, but in order to have that, I need to either not have to depend on this delta time, or I need to have individual float values that I track whenever I'm doing things like color lerping. So that's not great. Um, let me think. How do I want to handle this? Well, doing it by the canvas group certainly helps, but I don't know if that's actually what we want to do. So I'm going to try to be creative here. Um, this is one of the fun things about scriptable object behaviors, by the way, is trying to get weird functionality to work side by side because they don't have their own update or coroutines that they can run. You kind of just have to have like independent one and done functions that get called. So for our letter color behavior, I think we're going to be a little bit more ambitious, and we are also going to change our behaviors here. So this is not going to be a params anymore. It's just going to be a regular old label. Let's go ahead and grab this. I'm going to save that out. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste that back in like that. I'm going to go over here. Same thing. And then go over here. And oh wait, this one didn't have one, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay. Let's go back over here, and this is where we're going to say we're not going to clear. And actually, instead, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Private void on validate. Do scriptable objects not do that? Oh. Well, let's find out. They might not, which would kind of suck. They don't. Well, that's disappointing. There used to be a on well there was a crap, that's not what I meant to do. There is an on validate function for um, mono behaviors, but I guess scriptable objects don't get that. And on validate is basically called whenever I can't talk. Script compilations happen. I believe on validate gets called, if I remember correctly. And that would have been convenient for me to clear out any labels that don't exist anymore, but that can't happen. So instead, I am. How can I do this? Well, a couple of ways. Let's go ahead and do this, and this, and we're going to say. Oh, not add range. Sorry, add, and then we're going to say if labels contains label. So if it doesn't contain that, then we will add that label. So that will prevent us from doubling up. Of course, stop behavior should clear all of that. That's all fine. And let's go over to letter color behavior. This is really going to be tedious for me to test while I'm playing. I suppose I could make this. Let's see, combat attack label. Let's come down here. We're going to say private void on validate. And we'll just go ahead and we'll just say for int I equals 0, I is less than false choice behaviors dot length I plus plus, and we're just going to say false choice behaviors of I dot stop behavior. That should clear everything out for us. Again, these are all temporary stopgap things that I'm only doing for testing purposes. I'll remove them all later. And let's go ahead and let that compile. Then I'll play it, make sure that it works the way I expect it to, and then I will go ahead and move on to text color, and then we will get to text shake. And then we actually once we do text color, I'm going to try applying that and background color at the same time to make sure that that works. Because it should. Part of the point of making these scriptable objects is that I can have it do arbitrary execution of just whatever behaviors I want. So let's go ahead and clear this. I am going to look at you. We're going to debug. You have no labels. That is good. Okay, so we're going to play. I don't know why, but all of my sentences ended with the same inflection there, which is always a tedious thing. Actually, it wouldn't be tedious. It would just be boring. Okay, so that seems to work. And now, drum roll, please. Ha-ha! Cool. So that does pretty much what I would expect. And let's go back to letter color behavior. All right, so with letter color behavior, I want to do something a little different. First up, we're going to say serialize field, private, float, delay is equal to 0f. Let's go ahead and say tooltip, time before text will attempt to change color. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and serialize field. We'll say private float crossfade or faded is equal to 2f is again typically pretty good. We're going to say tooltip time it takes to fade. Oh, hold on. I need the yawn. We'll say time it takes to fade text color. Yeah, that's fine. And then before all of this, we'll go ahead and say serialize field, private color, default color is equal to new color. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. I don't think that's right. And then 1F, I'm pretty sure. 1F full alpha there. We're going to go ahead and grab this. Then we'll say target color. And we'll go ahead and make this like a bright green-ish. That's not ish. That's definitely bright green. Okay, so we're going to let that compile, largely so that I can grab what the default color should be, which I believe is this. I was way off. That's not 0.2. That's at least 0.5. If I could actually select it, I'd be able to tell you. Yep, definitely 0.5. I was wrong. My gut said 5, but I was like, no, surely I went darker. But nope, 0.5. Oh well. Okay, while that's going on, we are going to... Okay, so we're going to say base dot start behavior, pass in label. All right. For this, we'll also go ahead and say label dot color is equal to default color. Make sure that that's set. And then our stop behavior is going to call base dot stop behavior. Same thing. Except
I equals 0, I is less than labels.count, I plus plus labels of I dot label dot color is equal to default color. Same thing that we were doing before. All right, so tick. This is where it's going to get interesting. I need to keep track of the states and the float crossfades of all of these things. So that means I'm going to need up here, say using system.collections.generic. All right, then we're going to say private list float. Let me think. We are going to say lerps is equal to new. Okay, so that's going to be our actual lerp values. That will always be between 0 and 1. And then we need the state, which probably means we need an enum up here. So go ahead and say private enum letter state byte. Okay. So it's going to have fade in. Let me go ahead and make this one line. It's only ever going to be one line. These are private. So I'm going to say fade in, fade out, and then hold, I guess. Okay. This is... Nah, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's going to be frustrating. It's very hard for me to do fade outs and calculate when that's going to happen. Because the problem with tick is that all I get is a float. I don't have any other relevant information really, and that makes it very hard for me to determine fade ins and fade outs. I can kind of surmise what they should be, but it's very awkward. Like I can assume that if it has a lerp value less than 1, that it must be fade in, but I don't have any real way of knowing when a behavior should start fading out. So I probably don't want to call. Well, okay. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to add. I'm going to rename stop behavior to clean up behavior, and then I'm going to add a new public. This one is going to be abstract, actually. We're going to add a new public abstract void, and this is going to be stop behavior. So this function is. Did it rename all of these? Oh, good, it did. I was really worried for a second that it wouldn't. So stop behavior will be called when the behavior should start winding down, similar to how start behavior should initialize and then start everything going. While cleanup behavior is what will actually clean everything up. It'll reset colors, reset the lists that it has, everything you can think of. But stop behavior can be called when we start fading things out. That way we can have a decent idea of how we should be doing everything, or of what state we're in. Or at the very least, I can get correct information about what the label itself is doing, whether it's fading in, whether it's holding, or whether it's fading out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say public override void stop behavior. Okay, we're not going to throw an exception. And instead, we are going to simply say, this, we're going to say private list letter state states is equal to new letter state. Cool. And come down here. I'm going to say, let's go ahead and say if. Oh. Okay. Got to do that in reverse order. Grab this. Come up here. Say if not labels dot contain. Nope. contains, there we go, label. Then we're going to do that. And we are also going to go ahead and say states dot add letter state dot fade in and lerps dot add 0f. Okay. Pretty good, pretty good. Stop behavior, all we're going to do is set, let's see. For int I equals 0, I is less than labels dot count I plus plus. We're going to say states of I is equal to letter state dot fade out. So we're going to set everything to be fade out. And we should be good there. I should probably make this states for ease of use. Okay. And finally at the end here, once we fade everything out, we're just going to go ahead and say states.clear followed by lerps.clear. All right. Okay, now for tick. This is where it gets tricky. We're going to have to loop through all of our labels. Oops, is less than labels.count I plus plus. All right. So when we're looping through these, we're going to want to reference our state and our lerps. So we're going to say switch states of I. That's good. And we're going to say case letter state dot fade in. We're going to break case letter state dot fade out. Break. And that's actually all we care about. We don't really care too much about our fade in, fade out stuff. It's largely just to prevent us from doing extra stuff when we don't need to. So on fade in, we are going to say if lerps of I is greater than or equal to 1f, then we'll say lerps or lerps of I is equal to 1f. Hard set it to 1f. And then we are going to say states of I is equal to hold. It means that we've faded in all the way. There's nothing we really need to do beyond that. I guess we might as well go ahead and say labels of I dot label dot color, not collider, color is equal to target color. Okay. Else, we're going to say lerps of I plus equals time dot delta time. And then we are going to say time dot delta time divided by fade or crossfade. Yes. Okay. Let me think. I need another state actually in addition to fade in. I need to rename some stuff. I'm going to rename you to visible and then hidden. Okay. And actually by default they are not going to be set to fade in, they are going to be set to hidden. Alright. So, let's see here. Okay. So for hidden, we are going to need a case for that. I will explain what that is in a second. Otherwise, during our fade in, we're going to say lerps of I plus equals time dot delta time divided by crossfade. Okay. And then we are going to say, so we're not going to do anything with states. We're going to say labels of I dot label dot color, collider, color is equal to color dot lerp from default color to target color based on lerps of I. Okay. Now, for the hidden state, that's pretty much everything we should have to do for fade in, I believe. Yep. Okay, that looks good. So for hidden, we have a little bit of a weird thing. We're just going to say if lerps of I is greater than 1f, we'll do this. We'll set lerps of I is equal to 0f. And then we'll say states of I is equal to state.fade in. Okay. Else, we're going to say Mm, let's see. We want to say lerps of I plus equals time dot delta time divided by what is it, delay? Yeah, and that's pretty much all we care about. So this state is just purely meant to be, keep the letters the normal color, the default color, until I want them to fade in. Hello, Untap Wheezy. There is a way you can play this right now instead of just looking at me code for a while. Let's see here. So you should be able to go to there, and the demo should be available on the website. The demo is the demo on the website is a little old, but it has pretty much probably like 80 to 90% the same as the current demo that's not on the website. But it has pretty much the first two levels of the game in there, and you can play through it and see all the mechanics and see if you like the game. I just want to make sure if I have this. Do I not have a demo thing? I don't have a demo thing. I really need to work on that. I should have a command for that. Okay, so where was I? We have our hidden, we have our fade in, and now we need our fade out. So for this, it's pretty much going to be the same, but in reverse. So we're going to take this, paste this down, and we're going to say if it's less than or equal to 0f instead of 1f, we're going to set... Well, we're not really going to do anything with this. So I don't need that. We're not really going to do anything with it again. We'll just set it to be visible, and its color should be default color. Otherwise, we're going to say minus equals, and yeah, that's pretty much all we care about. So, if I'm half as smart as I think I am, then this should work. It will not. Or rather, I'm going to have some errors because I need to fix this. So we're going to go ahead and say public override void stop behavior. We're not going to do anything with it for now because we don't actually care. Yeah, we don't actually care about that. We're going to go over here to our combat attack label. And I am going to, let's see here, fade out coroutine. When I call that, I'm going to go ahead and loop through all of my behaviors here. Fade out. And I'm just going to go ahead and say stop behavior. Okay. So that should, I think, do everything that I want. At the very least, I hope it does. And that's going to be super awkward. But that's probably fine. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oh, and I'm sure that something else is probably going to complain that I'm not using... Yep, there it is. So I need to come up here and I need to say public override. Stop behavior. Ta-da! All right. Okay, let that compile, and I don't know why I made an exploding sound effect. It just seemed like the right thing to do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click. Dang it! All of that compilation, and I kept forgetting to do this. Create asset menu. File name is equal to this. Menu name is equal to that as well. So for those of you who have not worked with scriptable objects very much, this is a very nice attribute to know. For any scriptable object, if you attach this create asset menu attribute to it, it will automatically handle creating the menu items for you to create the asset in your project. So I'm going to go ahead and say letter, color, behavior, menu name. It's pretty much going to be just this again. Oh, I don't need to pin you. Why? I don't want to pin you. No. Where are you? There you are.
say this is letter color. So now after this compiles, whenever I right click to create this asset, you should be able to create this. Yeah, you used to have to be able, or you used to have to write a script to custom or to have a custom menu for that. But this attribute was, I don't know when it was added, but it was added fairly recently. It might have been a 2017 thing. At least that's when I figured it out. I'm pretty sure, and I've kind of been moving all of my stuff over to use it because it's a native thing that Unity does, and it's obviously much easier than making an editor script to do it. So yeah, I definitely recommend switching over to that. So now if I go over to create, SOS, text quest, combat, tag behaviors, and letter color. Looks good, looks good. Let's go ahead and give this a delay of, we'll do like a delay of 3 so that I can very obviously see it. Also, was I correct? Yeah, it was, 0.5, haha. So let's come back over here. We're going to go ahead and drag in letter color behavior as an option. Come on, I believe in you. Come on, there we go. Okay, so now it should fade in both the background and our letter, our letter colors. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we should fade in, and then, ta-da! Oh, that didn't really. That really didn't do what I was hoping it would. Did it? Did it at least change your label color back? It did. Okay. Well, I guess that's fine. It was not expecting that. I'm actually gonna turn off maximize on play so that I can like see that in action. I want to make sure that it's the correct labels and all that. So when we fade out, okay, yeah, that seems to be working. Cool. So we have that working now with both both background fading and text fading, which is nice. I will probably move our background color fading to be independent of this canvas alpha, just so that we can, again, have more control over this. So let's go ahead and we're pretty much gonna... I wonder if I should make this a common state. I probably will, actually. No, well, not everything's gonna need it, is the problem. Like, shake won't really need fade in or fade out. It's just always gonna be shaking. Well, crap. That's very disappointing. Background color behavior. Problem is I don't want to just constantly have to copy that enum out. So, I mean, I could make it like an enum in the base class, maybe. Probably wouldn't suck. Let's go ahead and say not private, protected. Let's go ahead and move this. Put this down here. To attack. Come up here. Okay. Let's also rename this to behavior state. That seems like it would probably be fine. Yep. Okay, good. So now we can use it if we want. I just don't have to if I don't want to. So that's kind of nice. Also, hooray! I'm very glad that I don't have to type freaking like combat attack label behavior state. I've not really. I very rarely use enums that are not public and in their own class, so I haven't really had to deal with these much. So it's nice that I don't have to type the entire thing. Okay, I am going to go ahead and steal. Let's see, default target. These two things. I suppose I will go ahead and put these tooltips in as well. So label text and label text from. Okay. Da, 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 da. Let's see here. So for this, we need to pretty much do the same thing. So I'm going to need some lists here. Come up here. States, that's all fine. Stop and start behaviors are going to be necessary. So public override start behavior. We will not call that first. We will call that last. And I'm pretty much going to do the exact same thing that I did up here. Default color. Not this. We're going to say background.color is equal to. Go ahead and comment this out. I'm going to just say default color. It's easier to code that way anyway. Oh, that was not the right thing. There we go. Ta-da. All right. Stop behavior. Let's see. Cleanup behavior. That's all good. For this, we're going to want to say states.clear and lerps.clear. Okay. In addition to this, we are going to want to, in stop behavior, pretty much do the same thing that we did over here. Fade out. Do that. And all right. So for this, we're going to change this so that it's a switch statement. Switch states of I. Oops. Okay. Probably going to be very similar. Again, let's go ahead and copy this. Paste that in. We are not going to need, well, our fade in and fade out will largely be the same, actually. It's just going to be background instead of label. Okay, well, that worked out pretty well. Okay. So I guess I can just kind of let that go then. All right, let's see what this looks like now. So that should now have 2 extra fields for delay and fade time. There we go. And we'll do a delay of 0, crossfade of 2. Actually, let's make that a crossfade of 1 so it's much more sharp. I just want to make sure that it's very visually distinct from the crossfading that's happening with the alpha on the canvas group. So we should see it fade in. We should see the red be pretty sharp as soon as it comes in. And it should fade out faster than the label itself. Green. Yeah, that works pretty well. So let's go ahead and change this to be 1, U to be 2, and press play. I must pet the cat because she wants attention. All right, let's see. So fade in, and then okay. Now we should see it fade out. All right, that's good. So cool. We have simultaneous effects working, and we have color fading across text and backgrounds working. I don't actually know if I'm going to use the letter one, but I wanted to have like a third test case. So now begins the more intense one, which is combat. Oh, sorry. Where are you? Letter shake behavior. So letter shake behavior has a lot more going on. It is. It has a lot going on, suffice it to say. I'm going to say base.start behavior based on label. Okay. So I have started coding it, but the code that I have right now is largely geared towards one thing. It's not quite set up to use multiple labels yet, because I was pulling over this code from my rumble effect, which is an effect that I have on my outputs whenever you're talking to like the troll. He has text that rumbles. So I largely based it off of that. But in addition to that, we need to be able to lerp through all of our stuff and handle it differently. So fortunately, we don't need to worry about states for this one, because with letter shake behavior, it's just always going to be shaking. as long as it's not set to be in the hidden or the delayed effect. So I guess that is actually a thing. I would have to have a list of statuses, if only so that I can have an initial delay. So let's go ahead and say private list behavior state states is equal to new list behavior state. Okay. So go ahead and comment that. So if not labels, not contains label. So if we don't already have this label in our list of things, then we need to generate a bunch of information. Um, and one of the things that I need to do to generate that is I need to actually have an extension method that can generate a bunch of information that I need. So this is going to be fun. Uh, one of the things that I need is, so I have something called output section label info, and this is something that I use for my my in-game outputs, but I can't really use this with my combat system. I need to have a more base class, I guess. Well, but no, I really don't. I really, really don't. I do need to have a different class, though, because this is very much tied into the output stuff. I just need another class that does pretty much everything this class does, but is not a mono behavior. Is not a mono behavior. So, okay, let's go ahead, let this compile, and I'm going to. I suppose I should make subfolders for these things, shouldn't I? Probably, probably. All right, we'll let this compile before I do anything else. All right, there we go. Create folder. I'm going to say background color. Create folder. Letter color. And finally, letter shake. Okay. Let's go ahead and drag in everything to their appropriate folders, which is going to do that, and it's going to complain. And sadly, I can't do anything. I can't drag more stuff into their folders until I let that compile. Otherwise, it's going to be like, you moved stuff while I was compiling. And I don't know how long you've been working with Unity, but if you try to do that, it sucks. Unity really doesn't like it when you move things around while it's compiling. Sometimes it outright breaks the compilation. It's like, oh, guess you have some missing scripts. It's like, nope, they're still in there, Unity. You just didn't find them. Okay, so background color. Go ahead and put that in there. And let's see. Let's go ahead and let this all load. Should close some stuff that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, I don't really need. I'll probably keep you open for now. Let's go ahead and come back here. Trying to think of anything exciting going on in the gaming world right now. Let's see. Aside from, well, no, that's pretty old news. I don't know. Is there anything exciting really going on in the game world while we're waiting for all this compilation to happen? So I'm gonna go ahead and say letter. Oh, jeez, no. We'll call this like TM Pro label. How about TMP label vertex info? Or maybe just TMP vertex info. That might be fine. Do that. God, that's really awkward, but I think it'll be fine. Let's go ahead and let this open up. It's not a mono behavior. It is not even a serializable class. It's just a class. You are in the TextQuest namespace, and you are using TM Pro. Okay, we're going to go back to... Where are you? Where are you? You're nowhere to be found. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I want pretty much all of this, except it's going to be public now. So we're going to go ahead and just say public. Public. Okay, do you, and you. Do we need anything else from here? Modified label. Getting that. I wonder if I should make it private and instead make public getters. Because sometimes, well, no, it looks like just baseline label info is something that's not meant to be modified, but everything else is more or less that. Okay, so I guess that means I'm going to go ahead and say public TMP vertex. Oh, I spelled public wrong because of course I did. Public TMP vertex info, and that will take a text mesh pro UGUI label. Okay. And then we're going to want to say pretty much everything that this does. Grab you, come over to here, grab you, and we're just going to say is equal to a couple of things. We're going to say cache label is equal to label, and then we'll go ahead and say cache label, and you're good, and you're good. Okay. So that should be fine. And all we really need, I think that's pretty much all we need from this script. So in our, where are you? Letter shake behavior, here we are. Geez. Yeah, this is where things kind of get weird. Okay, what were you doing? So forget label info, we just returned label info, which itself was set by that info initialize, info.initialize. Okay. Huh. That doesn't make sense. Oh, never mind. I know where that's coming from. I think. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, then we want to handle this a little differently. So I think instead of a list of output section label info, we're only going to need the one. And that is going to be... yeah, I think that's fine. I don't anticipate any situation in which I have multiple labels. Because, well, when I say multiple labels, I don't anticipate a situation in which a combat label has more than one actual text mesh pro label. Because that would make it confusing, and it seems like it would be better if I was going to have multiple labels. I would just have multiple different combat labels instead. So this is going to change. It's no longer going to be a list of output section info. Instead, it's just going to be a TMP underscore vertex info, and this is going to be equal to a new TMP vertex info based on label.label. Okay, so we're not going to have a count here. Instead, we are just going to simply say we're going to get rid of this. Grab this, move this up here. Get rid of this for loop, and we're going to say label info dot add info dot modified label info. Okay, then cached mesh info dot add info dot modified mesh info. Yes, that is correct. Okay, so we can get rid of this for loop now. And I think that's all we really want. So we have a label, we have the cache mesh, the change label stuff. That's something we need to figure out at some point, but we're not going to worry about that for now. States also need to have something, so we're going to say states.add state.hidden. Okay, and then we will need lerps as well, or cooldowns really. So we'll say private list float cooldowns. It's a new float. Blah, blah. So we'll say cooldowns dot add 0f. All right. I think that's all we want from that. Then we do all the fun base start behavior stuff. We're not going to worry about stop behavior for now. Clean up. Might as well go ahead and do this stuff. So we would do base.cleanup, base.cleanup behavior, which we will do last because that is the best way to do this. And then in addition to that, I also apologize that I've kind of been muttering for most of this stream. I haven't really done a good job explaining what I'm doing, I don't think. So I apologize that I haven't quite been as communicative as I like to be, or as I would prefer I was. States.clear. But it's much easier for me to kind of mindlessly state my thought process out loud. It is for me to try to explain what my thought process is. Cooldowns.clear. Okay, so now we begin the fun time. Let's see, loop count is not really something I can work with anymore. Oh dear. Oh dear. At least I probably will have to make a list of that too. So we'll say private list int loop counts is equal to new list int blah 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 blah. And we'll say not list loop counts dot add not 0f just 0. Okay. Right. So where are you? So we're going to change this loop count stuff to, instead of that, it's just going to be, oh jeez, before I do that, we're going to go ahead and start this for loop, this massive for loop. For int I equals 0, I is less than labels.count, I plus plus. Okay. This is where things are going to get messy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this entire chunk of code. We're going to move it within this for loop. That's already going to cause problems because I know I'm already using several for int i's in here. So I might actually be lazy and just do k's here. I don't like doing that, but that's fine. I'm not really feeling like going through and renaming everything. Typically, I like to go in alphabetical order starting from I, so I like to go I, J, K, L, M, so on and so on. I don't think I've ever gotten past N. So I've never gotten to O or P. But I have gotten to, I believe, N before. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this loop count here. We're going to scroll down here, and instead of loop count, we're going to say loop counts. Is that what it was? Yeah, it's loop counts of H. Not hide flags of H. What? Oh, right, I did K. Dang it. I changed it to K because that's one I use more frequently, but then I just threw myself off entirely. Go figure. So this is going to be loop counts of K plus, I guess it'd just be plus plus, wouldn't it? Okay, so is that actually all I need? that, wait, wait. No. Time out. Something has gone very wrong here. Something's gone very wrong indeed. I might not go ahead and move this. Hold on. No, this isn't right. Yes. Okay. So, frack. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 So, why would I do this way? This is far more confusing than you would think. Well, I'm gonna go over here to my rumble effect. Let's see. Yes, okay. So I need to move a couple of things. Where are you? Ah, there it is. Okay. So this, I feel like this can probably be moved to our start function or to our start behavior function. I'm like pretty sure that it can be. Um, so let's go ahead and just move this down to here, and then we will for you. Say that. I think that's fine. We're going to go ahead and grab this. Length. Okay. I don't think we need this in tick. I think we want this in start. Oh dear, do we want this in start? That's a good question. Um, I suppose what I should do here is just say if vertex nm dot length is equal to 0, and then that should be fine. Okay. Yeah, I think we're good there. Yes. Yes, I think we're good there. Okay. So here is where things. Did I not move that up there? Yeah, let's go ahead and move that comment up there so I can be sure what it does. Put that there. So this matrix probably should be created every time we loop through one of our labels. But yeah, here's where it does get fun. I'm going to go ahead and move this out from this label, or from this K loop. Move this back over here. It's going to get really awkward here. But we're going to go ahead and move this into here now. And matrix is now going to be over here. And it is going to be in this loop. Label info of I dot character count. I think that's all correct. If character count is equal to 0, let's go ahead and move our matrix past that declaration then, so I'm not declaring them even when I potentially could have no reason for it. Let's go ahead and we're going to change this to I. And are those the only two things that happened? Okay. This is this is kind of awkward. Right. So it's not really okay. So what I should probably do here is say if lerps, sorry, cooldowns of I is greater than shake cooldown, we are going to say, or how about this? If it's less than shake cooldown, then we will continue, and we will also go ahead and just say cooldowns of I plus equals time dot delta time divided by shake cooldown. No, that's fine. Just time dot delta time. Otherwise, we're going to say cooldowns of I is equal to 0f, and then we'll do some shaking. The idea there is that if we don't have that cooldown for things to take effect, we're just going to get Seriously, I had some misaligned line endings. If we don't have a cooldown, then just every frame it's going to be moving, and that will be very weird. It might actually potentially be. It might look like it's less twitchy and more. Well, that's not the correct way of phrasing it. It might look like it's more jerky than kind of like shaking. Okay, so let's go ahead and say create asset menu. File name is equal to this. And then menu name is equal to this. Alright. So I'm going to say, I was going to name my file name. Well, that's stupid of me. So the file name for this is going to be letter shake behavior. Okay. And then our menu name. Oh, I don't have it open. Let's go ahead and open those again because I'm too lazy to type it out. So we're going to say letter color behavior. I'm just too lazy. Grab this, paste this over here, then letter shake. All right, so now I should be able to create a scriptable object for that. And then obviously it will work perfectly. Oh man, stretch. Let's see. Just wondering how you became a programmer, game developer, etc. Did you have to be strong in math? Because I hate math, but love coding and HTML and stuff. So just wondering if more advanced languages like Java or C++ will be better for, or will be for me. So math is common in programming, but it's not the end-all, be-all of programming. Honestly, as long as you can approach issues in a logical way, basically build them down into the blocks of how you'll solve them, then you should be fine. You will eventually need to use math in the sense of, like calculating a curve for an object to travel along. That obviously takes math. But you can largely, if you're not really great at math, there's usually people that have come up with those equations. There's definitely people that have come up with those equations, but they're usually somewhat easily found online. So you can say like, how do I calculate the curve or a position along a curve? And someone will have a mathematical function that they've already typed out for you, and you can kind of like look at that, plug it into your game, and try to make that work. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and say create SOS, text quest, combat, attack behaviors, and letter shake. So honestly, you're not going to use a lot of arithmetic as much as algebra, most likely. But again, that's really only if you're doing programmer heavy approaches to things, but that's not something that you always have to do. So yeah, to summarize that, math is not necessary, but you will probably run into it. So even if you're not great at it, it's probably fine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off letter color and make it just letter shake. I will be amazed if this works. I will be even more amazed if this just doesn't crash or do something stupid. So let's see. Did I forget anything here? I feel like I forgot something, but I don't know. Okay, I think we're good. Do I have cooldowns? I do have cooldowns added, so let's just try it. Oh, and I'm pretty sure. Hold on, let me figure out what my own commands are because I keep forgetting. Yes, there it is. So, oh, yep, like nothing's happening there. There is no animation going on there. But before I forget, so if you're doing any sort of C# stuff, I definitely recommend checking out the Microsoft Developer Network. It has a lot of documentation on C#, also C++, and some other languages, all Microsoft-focused ones, so C#, C++, I think like F# and D# and all that. But it's got good documentation and examples for that. All right, mesh info of I. Oh, this isn't. This is not. This is not my class. This. That's not good. Um. Eh. Don't like that function here. Object reference not set to an instance of value mesh info. Huh. Okay. That's weird. Huh. That is problematic now, isn't it? If it's an internal script, I don't know what I can do there. Let's try it again, see if we get anything out of it, or if it's just always going to give us that error. It's probably always going to give us that error. It's always going to give us that error. Dang it. Ah. Well, that's severely disappointing. Maybe I can get away with something real quick. I think I might know what to do. I'm going to go over here to combat attack label. I'm going to put a yield here. So we have a 1 frame yield before I actually start ticking. I might need that because... Oh, crap. Nope, this still might not work. I might just have to yield 1 frame before I even initialize them. Yep. Yep. I think the problem is that TextMesh Pro, like all UGUI, requires a frame buffer before it can initialize anything. I really don't know why. Yep, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to move this up by in front of this for loop. I really hope this works. But TextMesh Pro, like all UGUI components, requires a frame buffer, and what I mean by that is that it takes 1 frame for the UGUI system to properly update and execute a bunch of logic that its components need. That's why if you pause and then drag a UI element around, it doesn't move in the game view. But as soon as you iterate 1 frame, it does, and that's just because of how Unity handles its system. It is very annoying because it typically means that you do need to have those 1 frame waits. Let's see, was I right or was I just... There we go. Yep. So you do need to have that 1 frame wait apparently, which is annoying. But it's fine for now. So at least we got the shake working. Let's go ahead and up the speed on that. And I think we want the speed. Oh, right. We did a range of speeds. So I'm going to do a speed range of 5 to 8. That seems fine. Okay. Let's go ahead and change that. We might also adjust our shake cooldown on the fly, because I'm curious to see what I can make it to make it look cool. So there's our shaking. Hooray! Although that's actually not a huge range. Let's change our range here to like 0.75 instead of 0.25. I'm just curious to see what that gets us. We'll give it a shake cooldown of... I kind of want this to be super long just so I can see what it looks like. So I'm going to make this like 0.5. We're also going to raise our speed to 10 and 15 here, make it a lot faster. We might end up upping our angle range a bit too, but I think this is fine for now. So let's take a look. So we get... Yeah, that's what it looks like when it's super slow. That's probably not useful. I'm also going to go ahead and change our behavior here. So we're going to go ahead and just comment this part out, comment this part out, comment that part out, and I'm just going to say while true. Okay. That's just so that I can see the crap, what is it? The jumbling for as long as possible. Okay, so I'm gonna take the shake cooldown to probably something like I might even make it 0.05 instead of 0.1. Come on. There we go. 0.05. And let's give it an angle range of... well, that's probably fine. Let's go ahead and let this happen. Okay, so that's what that shake looks like. If we make it 0.5, okay, 0.1. If we make it 0, that's what it looks like. Which actually, I'm not terribly opposed to that. It's actually not much. Oh, not 0.05, 0.05. There we go, 0.5. Let's see. So that's 0.05, 0.1. I think we want it to be a little bit more. So 0.05 to... What's 0.01 looks like? Or look like? Pretty much the same thing as 0. Okay, so 0.05 I think is probably the best without giving you a headache. Because like that's some like Jacob's Ladder level stuff there. Let's go ahead and say 0.05. I'm pretty happy with that. Rumble range, these are all cached values, so sadly I can't do anything with that, really. Let's go ahead and stop playing. Make you 0.05. I'm good with you. We're going to up our angle range to 50. So it's going to have a potentially wide angle on certain characters. Speed range, we'll keep it as it is. Rumble range, we might also increase to like -1. And actually, let's go ahead and make it like -2, just to give us extremes. We didn't really get a good deal there. I'm going to bump my angle range up to like 40 so that we can get some real severe rotation. Okay. You are not doing anything. You're not doing what I want at the very least. Let's go back. Not to you. To you. And you. Angle range. Find all references. Okay, interesting. You don't seem to be doing anything that I want, though. Maybe I need to give it some more extreme values. Let's make this 100 and 150, and we will also go ahead and say -2 and +2. And -2 and +2. So this should really blow our letters out. Okay. Man, we really got to blow those position values out. I do like this, although I am a little distressed in how aliased it is. I will go ahead and I guess change the color to be default, which is 128, 128, 128. So that's our default background color. Collapse you. Save here. Okay. So let's take a look at this one more time. Oh dear, something's still trying to access it. Ooh. That's fine for now. Okay. So that works pretty well. I should probably turn on maximize on play. So I don't know. Does it look ominous enough? I think that's a pretty discouraging thing to see. Like if you had, let me go ahead and set the other labels up to be the correct color and not be outlined, so that I can get a better view of what things are going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to turn you on. Select both of yous. Paste in our color here. Okay, and then turn off our highlights. All right, so this is essentially what what it would look like when you start your attack animation. When you start going in for the attack, you would have these three choices, and then one of them would be very, very wrong. um, but I do worry about things like scale and positioning because these labels are going to be positioned in 3D space now, which may actually necessitate not having their highlights disabled so much as just made to be dark gray. Um, so like this. That may be the better way to go. Um, because it will help them. It will help isolate the text from the background. I feel so. This. Jeez. Um, I'm just gonna. I just want to see what this looks like, but I'm gonna blow out my positioning even more to like -10, +10, -10, and +10. I just want to see. Just want to see what this does. Come on. I really hope it's super crazy. Yes. I love it. I might have to go with that. Like just that level of insanity to make it even crazier. Um, but see that I don't know if I want to do that because now I really want to implement like vertex animation. So you try to type that, but then that can't be the wrong choice indicator. Crap! Dang it! I made it worse for myself. Um, maybe if I change speed. So let's go ahead and say speed range is 100 to 150. Let's round these back down to like negative -0.5, zero point 0.5, negative -0.5, zero point 0.5. Let that save. Hit play. I'm pretty happy with this if I can get it to like rotate or something. I just can't get them to rotate the way I want. I remember having trouble with this before. Like I couldn't really get them to do crazy rotation values. Um, I don't know why it won't let me do that though. Like if I let me zero these out actually. So there should be no positional offset now. It should all just be rotation. Um, oh yeah, that's what it is. I probably need to change my angle multiplier. Um, that makes sense. There. So now you can see that they're more rotating in place than they are um, by 10. Of course, I don't have a comment. Okay, let's see. Come on. You know you want to be crazy. Yeah, there we go. Again, though, like I kind of, dang it. Every time I do vertex animation, I'm like, I kind of want this just to be what it is. Um, dang it, that's annoying. Okay. Well, crap. So I'm excited because we have some nice text effects going, and we can just apply an arbitrary number of these things to pretty much any label that we want. But I'm now less sure what I want to do to indicate that a label should not be typed by you. I'm gonna go real quick. I'm gonna like increase you to 0.1. See if that makes the rotation. Rotation I feel can be a little slower. Although, good God, doing that does make it look like my frame rate tanked. Um, so it's. I don't know. I don't. I need to figure out how to handle this. So my main aversion to just using color. Well, there are two. The big one, this is a more selfish reason, admittedly, out of the two, is that since players can choose red as their favorite color, then I can't show them red as a warning because it's their favorite color, and a lot of things get tinted their favorite color in things like text and descriptions and even the environment in some cases, and I can't associate red with danger if your favorite color is red. I could maybe come up with a system that says, like, if your favorite color is green, then red is danger. Or rather, if your favorite color is not red, then red is danger. And if your color is red, then, I don't know, blue is danger. But that's super confusing. Or maybe I could make it like yellow or something. But the idea is that I could make it a different color. And that's not a bad idea, but it's a great deal more effort. It also means that if you have a favorite color that you play through one time and then you pick a different color and that color is red and the previous one wasn't, then you'll get different cues and it's all kinds of confusing. So I'd rather not do that. So that's the main reason why I don't want to do just color, because people's favorite color could be that, and that would be bad. But the other reason is color blindness. If someone is colorblind for red and green or red and blue, then showing them a red label, this red label honestly will not look very different from these black backgrounds probably, and that means that it wouldn't be very fair. So I need something else. I don't know what to do there. I was gonna say maybe I could change the color on the outline, but again, that's color. That's not good enough. Jeez, what could I do? Because it might be a good idea to have the outlines be not gray, to have them be like yellow or something, or maybe your favorite color. Oh, well, no. Okay. So what if we did this? I'm gonna say let's assume that my favorite color is red. So we're gonna make you red. We're gonna make you the opposite of red, which I believe is that cyan. We do that, but again, that's color, and that doesn't really help me much. Because if I were to view this in a desaturated, like just pure grayscale, it wouldn't do anything for me. Um, so crap. Hmm. Okay. I okay. I might call it a night, and I might actually make well. Hello, Lonadios. Wow, I said the Y. I pronounced that twice. I'm terrible at names. I'm very sorry. Um, Shape of the text box. Maybe. What do you mean by that? Oh, actually, the shape of the highlight could be cool though. Like if we gave it more jagged edges, maybe. So instead of straight lines, it was like jaggedy. Is that what you're thinking? Because that would be a very visually distinct thing. That would work. Um, I've debated like changing the background image, making it like cross-hatched or something, but that would honestly just make it harder to read the text, so I don't really want to do that. Um, yeah, that could work. Let's try that real quick. Okay. I don't know why I opened up code. I need to go to Photoshop. So let's see. How would we want to handle this? Okay, are you not going to zoom out for me, Photoshop? There we go. I guess first up, let me make sure that I don't already have something for that. I'm like 90% sure I don't, but okay. So I do not. Let's go ahead and try to add something real quick in Photoshop. Let's make it not 512 by 512. How about 128 by 128? It would be really, really cool if Photoshop had a zigzag line tool, but I don't think it does. Actually, let's see, line tool. I don't think it does. No, sadly, I can't do that. Okay. That is a good idea, though. Okay. I also just realized that your name is Loaned Yo Ass. Okay, I got it. I don't know why I read it the way I did before, but I got it. Okay. So let's go ahead and seriously Photoshop again. What is up with you? Jeez. It's like refusing to register my keyboard inputs. Okay, so we would probably want something like, um, this is going to be terrible, but I'm going to just do it. So let's go ahead and say, how wide would I want things to be here? We'll have the spikes be 16, I guess. So that'd be 16, that's 32, that's 28, so it's, let's see, 198, 196. 96 is what I want. 96. There we are. And we're going to go 16 and 16. There's our centerpiece. All right. Yeah. Yeah, changing your name on Twitch is. I guess I haven't really done it. I know people who have, but it seemed like it would be kind of tedious, and I haven't really looked into it, but I was super paranoid that if I changed it, then like people wouldn't be following me anymore, like they would just get wiped or something, or maybe they wouldn't get notifications, or it could just be that situation where it says like this guy has gone live, and you're like that I don't know that person. Um, anyway, let's go ahead and we're gonna say polygon tool. We're gonna make it sides 3. We're gonna make this like terrible old school triangles. This is gonna be just the worst. Um, oh crap! Right, and I need to do that on different layers. Okay, so let's go ahead and duplicate. Oh, it's not making them rasters, or it is making them rasters. That's why it's so weird. Okay. This is probably not going to line up perfectly. It's going to be like offset slightly. Oh, it's slightly too wide. No! The horror. Okay. Let me think. Nope, you're good. Oh, come on. There. I think we are good here and here and here. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and group those all together. Top. I think it's the latter, but yeah, it's kind of a mess from what I read. Yeah. Do you know what you want to change your name to? I think we want you to. Schwaha. Alright. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. We'll call this right. Go ahead and rotate you. You down here. Cool. Let's go ahead and duplicate you again. We'll call you left, actually. Left. We'll duplicate the top. We'll call you bottom. All right. So bottom, we're gonna go ahead and rotate. We're gonna put you down here. Left, same thing. Actually, really liked how the diamond design was on that. So when they're on opposite ends, they kind of make like a nice little diamond type figure. Kind of looks cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this as a test. So we're just going to call this test border. Save that out. Actually, something that could be funny. I'm not. No, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm too lazy. But it could be funny to have like a Earthbound style. Choose your favorite borders. uh, yeah, typically I use the name Paul Yorker Honori. But due to previous Twitch shenanigans on my part, the name's not available because I tried to use it for my other account. I actually have no idea. Yeah, it looks like the wrapping on a katana. Oh yeah, it does. The hilt. I didn't think about that. Okay, so we have our test border. I'm just going to go ahead and drag that in here for now. Because I live dangerously. We're gonna make you a sprite. We'll pack you, and we'll pack you for now. We will go ahead and hit apply here. And let's go ahead and go to our sprite editor. We're going to want, oh, this is super hard to see. I'm going to assume like middle for the corresponding edges roughly. I'm just kind of guessing here. Like roughly there. Okay. Apply. All right. So I think this is what I want. So we're going to change you to you. This is probably going to go terribly. It did. Yep, it went about as terribly as I was expecting. Um, okay. Um, hmm. I remember. Okay. So yeah, this for those who have not really worked with Unity's UI system before. This is a really, really, really annoying thing that um, that the UI that images do. So images, when they're sliced, they don't do proportional slicing. So you'll notice that my offsets here, they were 23 pixels in, I believe. And Unity will treat sliced sprites like that. It's going to be 20. It's going to be 23 pixels for the borders, and then it will be the center, which means that it doesn't really scale well. You basically have to have perfectly sized borders, otherwise it's just going to get weird. So I mean, I could try to change this a little bit. I could let's go ahead and open up our sprite editor again. I could move this closer to the actual borders here, like this. But this won't actually solve my problem. It will just make it not as severe. So if I did that, 17, nope, you can see that it kind of opens up. But yeah, that's not okay. So let me go ahead and go back to Photoshop here. I'm going to resize this. So we're going to do image size, and we're going to just downsample this to 64. Oof, that's brutal. Yeah, that's not looking super great. But that does mean that our borders here are now probably like 8-ish by 8-ish. I guess they're like 10-ish, kind of. That's better. I mean, that's about half as what or half as large as it was before. Let's go ahead and save that out, I guess. PNG. Ah. And let's go ahead and just show and explore. Okay, where are you? You're over here. And I want you to go there. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Did my borders get messed up? Oh no, they just stayed the same. That's right. So go ahead and do this. And oh, wow. One more. Come on. One more. There we go. Apply. So that becomes problematic. I do think you're onto something though. Uh, I do think having the border change will work, but I'm probably going to have to figure out a creative way to change the border. Um, because the highlight was originally, well, not originally, I mean, it currently is underneath the basic background, which is just a box, basically. Uh, so I would need to change the background as well as the highlight images, I think, in order to have different backgrounds or different highlight borders. I think that will work. I just got to design them and actually figure out what looks right and what looks good and can properly scale. Because you'll notice that we are getting distortion here, like it's stretching them horizontally, um, even though they should be taller than they are wide. So I might have to figure out a better solution, but I think the border changing idea is a good one. It might be good to actually make the border rumble instead of the letters themselves or something. But I gotta. It's another thing I gotta be careful because if I just throw a bunch of effects onto one or two of the choices, it just makes it's probably gonna make people think, oh, I should totally type this. Um, Except it's obviously meant to be a deterrent. Um, so I think I'm trying to think of like what design I could use there because I like the triangle design, but I'm worried that I can't get it to. If you rumble the regular rectangular border, it would. That's true. I can probably show you what that looks like real quick. Change our highlight here back to solid. We will. What was I doing before? That was just solid. Okay, solid, 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 solid. There we are. I'm just gonna add a random. I have a shake. Oh no, I don't. Not a screen shake effect. I call it like letter vibration. I think is what I called it. And that should work. Ignore z-axis active on start. Okay, so this will show you what that looks like. Although I'm willing to bet it's not going to be quite correct. It might actually be entirely wrong. Oh, look at that! It's just flying off into the distance. Yep, that's about what I was expecting. That's funny. That was because. Oh, interesting. I don't know what that. Oh, that error is probably from that. Okay. Yeah. So let's see here. Where'd you go? As a max distance. Let's go ahead and stop threshold. I should change its speed a little bit too. Let's change its speed to like, I don't know, 5. We might end up not having something that I can use with that. with that exists. I'll have to like script something unique for it. But that won't be too bad. Yeah, it just flies off. Yeah, I think the problem that's happening there is that it's flying off and can't it hasn't initialized its start position yet, so it's just like off I go to explore places unknown. So it's just gonna, I think, continuously fly off in that direction forever. It's just gone. Yep. Okay. Well, but yeah, I think you might be right. Um, having it just vibrate in general will probably be a good deterrent. Because again, keeping with that like Jacob's ladder type effect, it's going home. I must return home. My people need me. Um, but yeah, so I think those are two really good options. I need to explore which one will feel a little bit better. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Um, if you don't mind me calling you Paul. Trying to think what else could really be done there, but um, I'm probably going to actually reach out to a couple of people I know um, in the accessibility industry, and ask them what their thoughts are for colorblindness here, because it would be PYA or PYA to work. That name's a acronym. Oh, okay. So, would it be Pia, or do you want me to say like the individual letters, um, or is this like a notorious PYA thing? Uh, so yeah, I think I'm gonna reach out to a couple of people I know and ask them some accessibility questions because they might have some ideas that make the game better anyway. And I've been meaning to reach out to them for a while and I just haven't. So let's see the individual letters, but yeah. All right, cool. And I shall do the best to remember that. And if I say it wrong again, just let me know. I'm really terrible with names until I figure them out completely, and then I'm decent with them at best. Okay, so I think we're gonna call it a night there. We have the combat behaviors all working, and we can have arbitrary behaviors all playing at once on an individual label, or possibly an arbitrary number of labels. I guess we didn't test that. Oh, and it just flew off already. Okay. So yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place there. So it's a good place to stop for the night. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.